No, it's straight up. That's what they're saying here. That was imposter.
Yeah,
So I'll read the. It says. I guess this is a summary later. First of all, I'll tell everybody that they picked all new moderators. I don't know if they picked all new ones, but to my knowledge, they flushed out all the moderators of this board and they got all new ones in. And I guess the backstory, it says one of our moderators spent a few weeks setting up an AMA with Richard Gage through the user AE911Truth. So that was their username, who has for months misrepresenting himself as a representative of the organizations. And then it said an AMA was conducted under the username Richard _ Gage Gage. Both accounts were deleted simultaneously when other users began to unravel the conspiracy after the later statements by Rob Balsamo, I believe his name is Rob, the
yeah,
pilot.
that's the pilot. Yeah,
Yeah. So he basically, I guess Rob was doing an AMA, and somebody asked him about a question that was on Richard's, and Rob said that he didn't think Richard did it, and then Rob contacted Richard, and Richard said he didn't. I mean, I don't know Rob Balsamo or whatever his name is too much. The only thing that I know from him is that Dr. Reynolds said that Rob said that he'd never admit that there was no planes used at 9/11. So I mean that's kind of eye-opening right there. Somebody that says that they'll never admit. So anyways, Rob said that about Gage, and anyways, they said that whoever was behind the two accounts engaged in behavior that was clearly designed not to simply mislead the subreddit. It says nearly 6 months ago they attempted to set up an AMA on 9/11 Truth, but rather to attack and slander the reputation of Mr. Gage. This was very disconcerting to the lengths which that user went to provide false verification and forced us to raise our standards for future AMAs. We want to be clear that this is not a short con. The user had been impersonating the organization for months, and this is something that we are taking quite seriously, which is to say this reaches beyond normal Reddit meta-drama and directly impacts the reputation of the actual person. We have held off commenting formally until the admins were given the opportunity to look into the situation. Unfortunately, they are not going to be able to divulge any information surrounding this conspiracy. We have reached out to Mr. Gage, this is a great part, and expressed our deepest sympathies for falling to victim of this conspiracy. We apologize profusely to the users, for the slanderous impersonation. Although we have just begun recruiting AMAs, we have now substantially raised the standards for proof for future interviews, so we won't happen again. We'd like to extend a thank you to Mr. Rob Balsamo, I still can't say it, and I'm Italian, for uncovering this conspiracy, and also thanks to another user who who alerted us of the statements. So after this had occurred, I guess somebody got in contact with Richard and asked them, I don't know if they saw him in person, they were like, well, would you ever do one? And it's just nope, just like that. I mean, I could understand because he might not know about it, but it was just a flat no information on it. Now, the weird things about this was they said that this person had been playing a long con, while the person that was using it wasn't using Reddit as somebody who was on Reddit for a while would. First of all, when they posted an AMA, they posted on the actual thread declaring that there would be an AMA from the day before, or from the afternoon, and not their own thread. And then he started his own thread saying Richard Gage AMA. So it's just weird because even that little detail of somebody who's not used to the board was translated through this. And yet this was a guy that was supposed to be conning them that was familiar with Reddit. Maybe he's a mastermind and everything, and it's kind of odd that a lot of the statements that were made there was supporting him. Before I get into reading some random statements and stuff that this supposed Richard Gage made, wouldn't you think he would want to at least attempt to clear his name or give a bit more detail why he wouldn't do an AMA? First of all, this is a great format because it's not like me talking to you in person. You're going to rush me for time. I've seen many interviews where he's closing up or someone has to take time out of his interview. This is, you're in front of a computer, all the information's there, all the links are there. It's the ideal way for anybody that wants to sift through lots of information or a little bit of information or get correct links. So it's a very unique thing a unique way to communicate to a person through AMA.
yeah.
Wouldn't you think that would be absolutely crucial, especially this, or even just for him to post or say possibly? He just apparently just said flat out no.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's all very strange. I'm, as you were saying, I've never heard of this situation arising before where, if, for example, the AMA had gone like this: I'm Richard Gage, ask me anything you like, and then somebody posted a question about thermite or something, and Gage had said, no, I think it was a plane crashers and Al Qaeda that had done it. In other words, this impersonator had gone back to the official story or had said something utterly ridiculous. Then you could imagine that there really was an impersonator and it was an attempt to muddle up, what Richard Gage has said, even though we know it's false. It could have still been another kind of strange type of psychological operation. So, but the fact that somebody went onto this forum to impersonate him, allegedly, and then said something very, very similar to what he would have said, and it wasn't really detrimental to him personally or to his case. I mean, who would do that? Who would waste that sort of time and that effort, but with no real motivation? In other words, from what was posted and what I don't think I read absolutely all of it, but I read enough of it. I think there was nothing in there which I felt was any different to what Richard Gage would have normally said. In the other interviews and presentations he's done. So as an impersonation, the only reason why I can think that was done as an impersonation was, if I'm trying to sort of work this out as we go along, he was actually doing a public presentation or something, or he was otherwise occupied on the night that he would agree to do that AMA, or the type period of time, whenever it was. So he got somebody else to do it for him, one of his, these other people that sit on this committee that he runs, and gets them all to make tea for him or whatever he does, or coffee or whatever they do, because they don't really do anything
to steer the car.
They don't really do anything to do with establishing the truth of 9/11. I mean, we do know that much. So it is possible that from that point of view that one of his lackeys actually did the AMA. But in essence, that wouldn't have really made any difference in terms of the questioning of it, because it was about 9/11 primarily, I think. I don't think there were any really personal questions about him.
Not really, other than the salary, but that has to do with what he's earning from thing. It's no secret that he draws a salary. That's his job. I mean, the numbers, people say that, I don't know if there's a tax report out, but I don't know if the numbers are there, but the guy draws a salary, and the guy lives in New York, I believe. He doesn't live anywhere cheap, so he's making a decent amount.
Yeah, and I suppose the only other indication which we discussed in the last interview we did was with that comment that you noted, that where some female poster had come on and said, "Oh, you're a hero of mine," or something. I can't remember the exact quote.
He's like, "Are you single?"
And then he said, "Are you single?" I mean, that you can imagine an impersonator might have done that, but you'd think, well, even again,
he would have been smarter.
Yeah, they would have done something much worse than that.
What is the point of impersonating somebody if you're going to make it over the top like that? It's obvious that it's fake, And I almost get the feeling like I don't have anything to prove this or anything, but it's like, all right, we'll do the MA. If it goes good, then we'll take credit. If it goes bad, impersonator. Well, I'll be working somewhere else. I had somebody else write it so that I could say, no, I was here at that time, blah, blah, whatever. I mean, again, don't know the facts. Probably will never get those facts. I don't even know how I will, but it just seems too odd that, like you even said, and like I said, that he would almost pick word for word. Like, I'll read this one here. Gage's response, he goes, "Thank you for the question. Allow me to share an important lesson that I learned. Even when something surprises us, we must not leap to conclusions. The angled cuts in some of the cases are evidence supporting the use of thermitic material, which we see at AE 9/11 Truth believed to be something like nanothermite. But during the cleanup operations, engineers were deliberately making angled cuts on beams because they wanted the beams to slide away from them onto the rest of the debris pile in a particular matter. This is similar principle to what lumberjacks use when they make angled cuts to determine the way a tree will fall. It is Germany's historic example, which encourages us ever greater vigilance." I think that was referring to something before somebody mentioned Germany. But it was funny, right after that, somebody commented, "Please answer the questions put forth by Sacchetta." But anyways, when I read that, if I read that to anybody that knew Gage in that, I don't think they would doubt that that's him saying that. And a lot of the comments are like that, just straight up like, I must admit you've raised a good point. I can't say necessarily why NIST didn't get the access. I'm sure if they had, they would have written a very different report. Like, there's tons of stuff like that are just like, okay, why would this impersonator slightly get... doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense any way you think about it.
Absolutely. It's all very fishy, as as we discussed this, I think, a week or so ago when you informed me about it. I've never heard of anything like this being done before. But on one comment I will make is that I think again it illustrates the difficulty working with forums. And Reddit is no different. There's a lot of anonymity on there. And there's only a few people use their real names.
Well, me one of them. But what you're supposed to have on an AMA verification, I think this is why they get a heat. You're supposed to have a picture of somebody beside their username with a picture saying, this is me with an AMA verified, or a video or something where they mention it, or they plug it on their Twitter or something like that. And I guess that's where this got much heat, because I guess that wasn't done. I guess this guy had been talking to the people, the mods, whoever he was contacting to get in. He's done it long enough that that wasn't a suspicion or something like that. But usually, yeah, it's always verified. And I'm pretty sure it had the little check beside his name, which means verified. So I guess the moderator passed them off. So again, that could be a reason why they had to clean house with the mods. But it's all too convenient, and it's all too just muddles up the water, because now in everybody's eyes, wow, there's impersonators out there, and now we're not going to hear from Richard Gage on AMA. So I'd still like to ask him my questions. Richard, are you listening to this? I want to talk to you one-on-one right now. I would really love you to answer my questions. I have them all listed here. You may have seen them, you may have not. I can't see any other format that I can get you these questions that you'll answer them fairly, because I've seen the way you've dealt with stuff in videos to Abraham Rodriguez and other people that have mentioned stuff. I don't want to talk about Dr. Wood. I just want to talk about evidence at the site. So please answer these questions so that we don't have these problems, so that we clear all this up, so that we can move forward, right? You want an investigation. Let's investigate. Let's stop being in the way, as I feel you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's why your sort of idea earlier on, that they made this agreement that if it went well, they'd say it was okay, and if there was some problems, they'd disavow it, which is what they appear to have done. I suppose it just then makes you wonder the period of time that elapsed between when they decided to disavow it. I mean, I think the use of this word, what struck me when you were doing that readout as well, another comment I can make is they use this word conspiracy, several times in that description. Well,
to describe it on the conspiracy board.
Yeah, conspiracy, really? Well, it sounds like just one guy decided to do that. Mm-hmm. So one guy decided to, impersonate Gage. That's by definition not a conspiracy. Mm-hmm. That's a deception. Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Or an impersonation. So so the fact that they're using this term conspiracy, does that mean that they're involved in it?
That's a good point. And the difficult thing would be, even on this message board, this is where people come, r/conspiracy. How could I, in good faith, ask somebody like you, Dr. Wood, Dr. Morgan Reynolds, to go post on a conspiracy board? This information, it's not to be confused with conspiracy. There's a reason why Richard Gage is on conspiracy, and it would really suck. I see Dr. Wood stuff posted on there, and of course it gets attacked for no reason. Nobody ever looks it up. They always say Star Wars space beam weapon. They see a title of one report. They didn't read it. What she's telling you in the Star Wars space beam weapon was Star Wars space beams existed. The government made them. It doesn't have anything to do with the destruction at the site. She's just letting you know that this advanced technology exists, and it's no secret. It was SDI program. You could look it up. It was Ronald Reagan's pet. And often it really sucks that that's all people can say about her is ray beam from space, which makes no sense since I've never heard her talk about it. And again, how can you in good faith say, all right, we have some place where people can ask you any questions, but it's a conspiracy board? No, I would not like them to be put in that situation. But then again, you're never going to see Dr. Wood on the actual AMA board, like where Ask Me Anything. They would never they would say, no, this has to do with conspiracy. It belongs in the conspiracy board, and then she'd get labeled right there. So even though they have nothing, they don't know what they're talking about. That's their moderators. They have all the choices.